I really think that I find more joy out of helping other artists develop their songs and develop their careers versus releasing my own music. And that's just a recent revelation that I had like in the last couple of months, that I am so much happier watching, and I feel so much more fulfilled, you know?
Welcome to the Female Entrepreneur Musician Podcast with Bree Noble. Bree is a musician, entrepreneur, speaker, and founder of Women of Substance music radio and podcast. Bree's interviews with successful female musicians and industry pros are both inspirational and informational. She also answers your questions about the music business. Bree is on a mission to help you create great music, connect with your fans, and grow your business, and to truly become a female entrepreneur musician.
What's up? I am so glad you're tuned in today to the Female Entrepreneur Musician, where we talk about making great music, connecting with your audience, and growing your business. I am Bree Noble, and I am excited to be with you today and tell you about somebody I definitely think you guys need to know about, because she has started an organization that I hope many of you will get involved in. Her organization is called WomenCrush Music. And their mission is very similar to mine at Women of Substance, because it's all about promoting female artists. It's about providing a platform and helping them get exposure for their music. And their focus is more on live events. So they are producing showcases all around the country and even in Canada, and possibly in the future in Europe and Australia and wherever they can get people to get involved with WomenCrush music. So I'd love for you to consider, after listening to this interview, number one, getting involved as an artist, and number two, getting involved as a volunteer and helping them start new chapters in your area, helping provide volunteer support if there's already a chapter in your area. So she names all of the chapters in here, and we will also try to get them in the show notes as well. But make sure to go to womencrushmusic.com and check out how you can get involved either as an artist or a volunteer or both. Now, let me tell you a little bit about their founder, who is also, by the way, a musician, Ashley Kervabon. Ashley Kervabon started her music career as a singer and songwriter, previously going by the name Ashley X Tina in New York City, where she was born and bred. But it wasn't until moving to Portland, Oregon, that she realized what her real mission was: writing songs for other artists and helping to advance them in their career. She is now pursuing this by leading the nonprofit organization she created, WomenCrush Music. Now here's my interview with Ashley Kervabon. So that's a little bit about Ashley Kervabon. So Ashley, is there anything that we didn't mention in your short little bio that I read that maybe our listeners need to know about you? Anything that's a little more unique or personal or quirky?
I think that the thing that I forget to mention the most these days is that I'm an artist first. And so, you know, all of this talk about me starting this nonprofit that's now international, and me having a background in PR and marketing, and I'm a puppy mom and all this other stuff. I started out as an artist, and that's ultimately what I think people need to get, is that this organization that I'm growing, it was founded by an artist. It's being built by other artists, and I think that's what's really important about us. It's the foundation of it all.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I loved when I first started finding out about you guys, is obviously that's the same situation for me. Like, I feel like I can't serve artists and I can't help and coach artists and promote artists without already having a background about being an artist and knowing what it's like to be the people on the other side, and having that desire to help and serve artists comes from being one yourself.
Of course.
I think that's great. So that's why I wanted to start off our interview talking about you as an artist. So I wanted to find out how you got started in music and a little bit about that story.
Oh, sure. So I've been around music kind of my entire life. The way I got into it on really separate occasions. So my mom's family is Mexican, And I grew up going to Mexico every summer for like months at a time. And my Mexican family is actually very musically inclined. And so I saw some of my cousins taking music lessons, and with them it was always kind of like a monkey see monkey do thing, right? If my cousins were doing it, I wanted to do it too. And so I would go to Mexico, pick up sometimes bad habits, sometimes good habits, and I would come back to the States. And that summer, I think it was like 9 or 10, I was just like, Mom, I want a keyboard, I want to take piano lessons. And my mom, because she's always been super, super supportive of me, both my parents, she was just like, okay, yeah, you got it. And so I got my first keyboard, little half-size thing that I'd had up until I graduated college, actually. Not even weighted keys, nothing fancy. And I started taking lessons. I did that for a year. You should know this about me. When it came to music, I didn't really stick to one instrument or like one thing for a prolonged amount of time. And so I would go from piano. And then when I was 12, I found my dad's old bass guitar in his closet. And I was just like, Dad, what is that? He never told me before, but my dad was in a punk rock band when he was about my age. So he was like 24, 25. And I saw the really amazing, I didn't know what it was at the time, but an amazing conditioned Fender pre-CBS from like 1964 in the closet. And I was just like, Dad, what is that? And I just started playing around with it. And my dad was like, whoa, like you're picking this up really well. Because he doesn't really play anymore. Although I did tell him he should get his band back together for my wedding in May. But yeah, I started picking the bass up, and then I started taking lessons. And then that led to me auditioning for LaGuardia Arts High School in New York. It's the high school that the movie Fame was based off of.
Oh, okay.
And so I auditioned for LaGuardia and I got in. And while I was at LaGuardia, I played bass, I played electric, but I also they made me switch to the double bass. So I played in an orchestra for like 4 years.
Oh.
But a lot of my friends were vocal majors, and I knew that I could sing, but I was very, very shy. And so it was kind of a little bit of like my secret talent. You know, I sang at a talent show when I was 12 once, and then I never did it again because I was like, oh my God, no, scary. And much less, like I was writing lyrics since I was 12, and I never showed them to anybody until I was about 16 or 17. And there was this class at LaGuardia called New Music Singers, and it was like all of the like, wannabe songwriters would audition with like an original song, and they would take that class. And so I was feeling really brave one day, and I asked my friend Samantha to play guitar on this song for me because I didn't play guitar, I just played bass and a little bit of keyboard. And so she was like, yeah, let's do it. And we auditioned for the class, and I actually got in to the class, and then I chickened out, and so I didn't take it.
Oh no.
And so that's kind of like my history as a songwriter. So that was when I was 17, and I didn't actually end up performing my first original song in front of people until I was like 21.
Wow.
So it took a little bit. And then I went through like a series of 2 like all girl bands. I was in a girl duo and then an all girl rock trio in New York. And then I went solo and I released my solo EP. And now I really, really like performing. I don't think I'd ever want to tour. I kind of imagine myself as like mainly a co-writer for artists now. You know, like a lot of WomenCrush artists here in Portland, like hit me up if they're having a problem, if they have writer's block, or, you know, I just got a text last night from an artist named Courtney No. When I first moved to Portland almost 3 years ago, she was looking for a writer, and she found me on Craigslist. And now we're really great friends. But, you know, she always hits me up when she's like, oh, the phrasing's not right. Can you fix it? Like, oh, I can't think of a melody for this part. Can you help me? And I really think that I find more joy out of helping other artists develop their songs and develop their careers versus releasing my own music. And that's just a recent revelation that I had like in the last couple of months, that I am so much happier watching, and I feel so much more fulfilled, watching artists that I've worked with like go from not knowing how to write a song, not knowing how to put out an EP. Then I work with them and they sell out a show and they're getting all this press, and I couldn't feel more proud of them and honestly of me. And yeah, so that's kind of my history a little bit.
That's really cool. So it sounds like you've really found your calling with, working with other artists. You're still being able to use your creativity and your music knowledge and all that.
Yeah, it's definitely, I can definitely say that I feel very comfortable and confident that this is my calling. Not to say that I'm never going to perform again or release music again, because sometimes that is nice and it is kind of therapeutic. Like in November, I had my last official show as Ashley X Tina, which is the stage name I was going under for the last 4 years. And I hadn't written a song for myself in a while. And a couple of weeks before that show, I ended up writing a song called This Is Me. And it was literally like my story, like my musical journey. Mm-hmm. And it was really nice. And so at some point, when WomenCrush is more stable and developed and all that jazz, I would love to be able to record that, just because it means so much to me. Not really. I would really like to release music for myself and not for anyone else.
That's cool. So how did you end up back in Oregon?
I grew up in New York City. I'm from there. And in 2014, well, I should preface this with, I was a very like stereotypical native New Yorker. Like, New York's the best. I'm never leaving here. Like, what else is there in the States? I don't know, because I really didn't know. Like, I grew up in New York City, in Queens, going to school in Manhattan and working in Manhattan. And the only other really life I knew was going to Mexico every summer, which is also like two completely different worlds, right?
Right.
But I had a cousin that's been living in Portland for like 7 or 8 years now. And in 2014, the year I graduated college, she was like, hey, like, you should come visit me. We haven't seen each other in a while. And it was my spring break. And I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to go visit my cousin, because she promised to take me to every winery in Portland. Sounds solid. Sounds like a good vacation. And so I came to visit her, and I didn't know what to expect, but I actually really, really liked it. I was very freaked out by how nice people were here. And once I got used to like people saying hi to you on the street and people not like actually wanting to talk to you when you're making small talk and actually caring about what you have to say, I told my cousin, I was like, hey, like, things are going really well here in New York, but if they ever weren't, like, I would totally move to Portland. And literally a year to that date, I called my cousin. I was just like, hey, so I'm going to come stay with you for a few months. And that's kind of how that happened. It was like April of 2015, and I stayed with her for a couple of weeks, and she had an extra bedroom in her apartment, and she was like, you can just stay. You don't even have to go back to New York. Like, you can live with me until you like get your bearings, or really just stay for however long you want. And I ended up going back to New York reluctantly, because I didn't want to. I ended up going back to New York and staying until July. So I like worked my butt off, and I saved a good amount of money because I didn't know what I was going to do when I got to Portland. I was waitressing full time, because, that's the New York way when you're a musician. And so I figured that Portland's a foodie town. Like, I can totally get a waitressing job, which is what I ended up doing at first here, just because it's easy money and so flexible. And it's a good way to meet people too
That's true.
When you don't know anybody. And so, yeah, that's kind of how I got here. And then, not related, I went back to New York reluctantly, but that's actually when I ended up running into my high school sweetheart again for the first time in 5 years. And now we're getting married. So everything happens for a reason.
That's amazing. Wow. And he was willing to move to Oregon?
Oh yeah, even though I told him not to. I tried to push him away a lot, but he was I'm really happy that he was persistent.
That's really cool. Well, one thing that I love and I was really surprised by is that, obviously we've just told your story and you're obviously very young, but yet you had this idea of starting a nonprofit to help musicians. So I'd love to find out how you got that idea and how did you get it off the ground?
Well, so it's funny that you say that, like, I'm so young, like, how did you get this idea to start a nonprofit? But my idea to start a nonprofit has actually stemmed from college. So when I was in college, I had a blog, wasn't anything huge. I started it for a class, but I ended up really liking it. And I was really big into promoting healthy body image, and I would analyze pieces of media for my class and talk about why that was damaging to women and stuff like that. And I really, really wanted to start this nonprofit called That's What She Said. Mm-hmm. I wrote a whole proposal for it and everything. Then I ended up not wanting to do that because I wanted to be a solo musician.
That's so funny because actually I just got all the music for our Valentine's Day shows on Women of Substance, and one of the songs is called That's What She Said.
Oh my goodness, it's so funny. But yeah, I really wanted to start this nonprofit that was helping women via photo shoots, and we'd go to different schools and talk to young girls about body image and being healthy and stuff like that. And so I kind of always wanted to just help people in my own way. And it just kind of makes sense now, everything that I have enjoyed doing my entire life, for it to now be a thing that I'm doing pretty much almost full time, because I've always liked the idea of a nonprofit being in my life. I've always liked curating shows. And even when I was in New York, I was only doing all women bills. It was just something that I always liked to do. And as far as how I got it off the ground, it really just happened so naturally. And I think I just got very lucky, and not even that lucky. I shouldn't say it like that, because clearly it has taken off, because something like this is needed right now. And in this industry, just a place for women to get together. And I mean, this, I don't have to explain this to you, obviously. You know the deal. And so, yeah, that's really it. It's an unfortunate thing that something like this is so needed, but it's also really great that I was the one to be able to really kickstart WomenCrush, and now we have a team of 22 volunteers.
Yeah, I was like, wow, look at this. First of all, you're so organized. If you go to the web page, they've got bios on all these people that, have different positions, and that's just amazing.
Oh, girl, my team was hustling from October through December. But yeah, I got really lucky with the people that reached out to me saying that they wanted to help, because, everyone says that they want to help until help is actually needed.
It's so true. It's such a great idea, but then when it comes down to actually doing the work.
Yeah, but I actually got, these 22 people on my team they're just badass ladies, and with a couple of dudes. The men behind WomenCrush are important.
I saw a few guys.
Forget about them. Yeah, let's not forget about them.
That's cool. So explain what WomenCrush actually does for artists.
Sure. So in terms of what we're doing right now is that in all of our cities, we have a combination of showcases that we want to happen every other month, and those showcases spotlight local rising artists. We usually have about 3 or 4 of them per show. And, in Portland and in New York, because those are kind of what I considered the headquarters and the cities that I developed first, it's gotten to a point where people are really interested, and they'll just come out because they know it's a WomenCrush show, and we have writers that come out and booking agents that come out. And so it's a really cool thing, because since WomenCrush is getting to be a known brand, I guess, people will come out, and these artists will leave with other gigs or with at least a little bit of press. mentioning their name. And I think that's super cool that we can even offer that right now. Our first Portland showcase was on Wednesday, and I'm still over the moon. We packed our new venue with like close to 100 people. So
wow,
it was really, really amazing.
So how do you do it? Do the artists get paid? Is there ticket costs? Is it just all about goodwill? How do you run?
So this is really city dependent. And this is one of the things when I was setting everything up with my team, when we talked about expanding into different cities, how each city was going to run. It's impossible to think that how I run the Portland chapter is going to be how I run the New York chapter, or how the Austin chapters one is going to be the same as how we run Missoula. The cities are different sizes, and just the scene and I want to say like the economy of the industry is different, if that makes sense.
It makes sense.
That is really city dependent. But the important thing to know is that WomenCrush doesn't take any like kind of promoter fee or anything like that. We're a nonprofit, so that's not a thing. Unless artists don't want the money and they want to give it to the organization, which is fine. But in Portland, we are working with a venue called the White Eagle, and they give the artists a percentage of the bar. And that's most of the venues in Portland, actually. They are doing that now. And they can put out a tip jar and sell merch and all that stuff, and all that money is theirs. And then as far as New York and a lot of the other cities go, they're charging like a small cover charge, like $5-10. I think $10 is like the maximum that we want to do right now, because we want it to still be affordable for everyone to come out and support, But we also want the artists to make a little bit of money.
For sure.
Eventually, the goal, once WomenCrush gets funded, we're working on a proposed budget for when we can get any type of corporate sponsorships or anything like that. Our idea is we want to at least pay the artists a base pay, and figuring out how much that is will depend on how much money we end up getting, right? But we'd at least want to be able to pay the artists a base pay, and then also pay the chapter leaders at least they're volunteers, so they won't be staff, but they will get a stipend for food and drink and transportation for all the events that they do. So that's just one of the goals that we have. And then that's very cool. Yeah, and then as far as the other kinds of events go, a really cool thing that we are going to start doing is host workshops and networking events. And so for February, we had this idea of doing a Galentine's Day meetup across all of our cities. And so here in Portland, I'm giving you a little insider information because this isn't even confirmed yet, but we are reaching out to a woman-run open mic here in Portland, and Galentine's Day happens to be on a Tuesday, and that's the day that she hosts her open mic. So I think it would be really, really cool for all of us to just do like a really chill meetup there and have some fun and play some music. No pressure of doing a show or anything like that. Just going to hang out and have a good time and really create that sense of community that we're trying to build. So yeah, that's it.
That's awesome. So I'm curious because I've done a few showcases before for women of substance, and number one, it's a lot of work. And that's why I don't do them now, because I don't live in those locations and it's hard to run it from away. But first of all, how do you choose like which artists are, you're going to showcase? Obviously you need to keep the quality up. So you do audition, do you have them submit music, or do you have people like scouting them out live, or what do you do?
So the way it's working now, and this is all based off of what I learned from running WomenCrush, like unofficially for about a year in Portland, like curating showcases and stuff like that, and in New York. And so we give the chapter leaders tools to use. Like we have like I said, we're pretty organized. We have like documents for everything, like booking guidelines and pitch guidelines and all this stuff to help the chapter leaders. Because, a lot of them do have booking experience, but some of them don't. And they need a little bit more support, and we are here for that. So the way I like to run the showcases and book them, and, we don't have any rules at WomenCrush, right? But I always suggest this because I think people like it, is one, I don't do just one genre. I think that it's important for us to be diverse in that. And then, here in Portland, it's usually 4 artists. And so I like to have at least 1 or 2 like baby artists, right? The ones that are just starting out and the ones that really just want to find a space to play because they don't know, because they just got into the industry and they're still looking for opportunities. And then I like to have like 1 like medium level band and then 1 big size band. But really the important part is that they believe in the cause. And because now we have like an artist submission form on the website, and I think that'll be super, super helpful. We have my assistant is like really the main screener, and she will pass along those submissions that we get to the correct chapter leader, and then we go from there. But really what we look for is artists that are dedicated and that really want to be a part of this community, because, we do want to help everybody, but unfortunately there's not enough time to help every single artist out there. And we really want to make sure that the people that we're letting into these showcases are dedicated and want to help each other, not just help themselves.
That's so important. Important to learn as an artist is to, not just be out for yourself, because you're going to get so much farther. I always say like, all boats rise with the tide. And I think that's what we're creating, both of us with our communities, is it's not all about me. It's I help others, and then, they want to reciprocate because I help them. And, it's this circle of awesomeness when it's working correctly.
Exactly. And so that's really the main thing. Like, yes, we want people to sound good on stage, and yes, we want people to, like, drawing a crowd is nice, but thankfully here in Portland, we kind of have like a built-in crowd because people know about us now. But yeah, we just really want good talent that want to support each other.
That's awesome. So what are some of your future plans for expanding? Like what cities are you in now? Where are you looking to expand to, and what kind of events are you looking to add?
Okay. That's a lot of questions.
It is a lot of questions.
We are in about 13 cities right now.
Wow. I had no idea it was that many.
Yes, we are in 13 now as of 2018. And I am very, very excited. And so we actually just had our first board meeting last weekend. And what we decided would be best is for us to really be able to develop these cities in the next 6 months. I want each city to have at least 3 team members. Obviously, like the bigger cities might need a little bit more support, so that the chapter leaders don't feel like super, super overwhelmed. Also, it would be nice to get some interns, because I feel like this really is a really good learning experience for everyone, even me, and I would love to be able, I really like the idea of being a mentor for like younger ladies. And so I would just love to be able to do that. And also, the more people we have on our team, the more things we can do. And I feel like right now, a lot of the cities want to focus on the showcases because they feel like that's something that's needed there. But I think that the networking events and the workshops are just as important. And so having more people on the team we'd be able to execute those plans more efficiently, I guess. And then as far as future things go, or future expansion, well, we're in 13 cities right now.
Would you mind, since this is audio, would you mind listing what cities you're in?
Sure. So we are in, I just hope I don't miss any. That would be very embarrassing. So we are in Portland, New York, Nashville, Missoula, Chicago, Austin, San Jose, San Francisco, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, New Orleans. Oh my goodness. Vancouver, BC. I think, did I miss any?
I'm not sure. That's a lot of cities. That's awesome.
That is a lot of cities. So obviously we have.
Did you say LA? Are you in LA?
We are in LA. Okay. That is the one that I missed. I'm so sorry.
Got it. You've got to be in LA.
I know. I was literally like just talking about them too. But yeah, so those are our current cities. We'd really like to develop them this year. As far as expansion goes, we are in one city in Canada now. I'd love to get more into the main cities of the US and Canada. But what my heart really wants to do right now is to expand to Mexico. I feel like I have to. It's my, not only one, is it super needed down there because they have a great music scene in Mexico City, Guadalajara, where my mom is from. Morelia, like it's becoming kind of like the Portland of Mexico.
Oh my gosh.
They have all of like the food festivals and the film festivals down there now. And it's so crazy because 10 years ago, it was totally not a tourist destination. And now it is.
Wow.
And it's so exciting to see it grow. The traffic is not amazing, but it's so exciting to see it grow in that way culturally. And, machismo is unfortunately a very real thing in Latin American countries. And I can only speak for Mexico because I've only ever been there a bunch of my life. And when my cousins heard about WomenCrush, I went there in September and I saw them. They were like, we want to bring this here. How do we do this? And so, hopefully by, beginning of 2019, we'll be able to really make that happen. Get it started in some cities in Mexico. So that's kind of like in terms of short-term goals, like 1 year plan, like I'd love to be able to do that.
That would be cool. That would just be like full circle for you.
Oh yeah. And then who knows, like I got a couple of emails from people in Europe and people in Australia that find our site and want to bring WomenCrush to their city. And I'm over the moon about the interest. It's just smart growth is what we're really trying to do versus
you don't want to expand too fast and then you can't handle it.
Yeah, exactly. And, obviously I want to be able to get some funding so that we can continue to do what we're doing, but do it better.
Right.
Like, the money would go towards paying the artists and hopefully getting some photographers and videographers on board so that artists can leave with content to put up on their sites or, live footage is so important when you're applying to festivals and all that jazz.
Sure.
And so I really want them to be able to have something aside from like $30 from a showcase and, and like some press. So making things better for the artists and making things better for the team, and also just awareness, like that money would really help with like advertising and marketing costs and but yeah, that's really it.
Absolutely. So we have obviously a ton of female listeners listening to this show. So if they want to get involved, if it's not in their city and they want to help bring it to their city, or if it's in their city and they just want to get involved and volunteer and help, how do they contact you for that?
Sure. So they can go to our website. Our website is recently updated thanks to my lovely team.
Like I said, looking great.
Yes, thank you so much. We really appreciate that. And there's actually forms on there for everything. There's artist submission forms. There's if you want to be a chapter leader, there's a form for that on there. And if there isn't a form, womencrushmusic@gmail.com. Just reach out and say hi, or say hi via our Facebook page, Instagram, Twitter. It's all at WomenCrushMusic. There are plenty of ways to get involved. If you can't think of anything, don't worry. We have a team for that. They will place you. So yes, at the end of the day, the takeaway is please reach out to us because we want to hear from you.
And do you have an email list there too, if people just want to know like when the showcases are so they can go to them?
Yes, we do. We just launched our newsletter in January. We will be sending those out, general newsletters every month. So
cool. I would love to. San Jose and San Francisco are about 3.5 hours away from me. So I'm like, maybe I should find out when those are. I'd love to.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. I will definitely connect you with our chapter leader out there. She's great.
Cool. You're so into helping musicians and really giving them the resources that they need. Are there any resources that you would recommend to our listeners? And I always ask this, either books or websites or anything that have really helped you either in writing music, the business of music, or like self-development for musicians.
So if you're a podcast person, I am a new.
I am definitely a podcast person.
You were actually on this podcast. I listened to it, the Break the Business podcast.
Oh, I love that podcast.
So a little secret, WomenCrush Music is taking over the podcast for the next 2 weeks. So stay tuned.
Oh, I got to listen. Okay.
So that's happening. I really, really love Brian. He's great. And as far as books go, I would say read what you want to be, like read books by people that you idolize, or like that you can imagine like your career is similar to theirs. So when I was starting WomenCrush, and even now, I'm really, really into reading books by other women who have like started a huge business or are CEOs of their company now. I'm reading Big Magic right now by Elizabeth Gilbert. So good. One of my top books of 2017 is Confessions of a Serial Songwriter by Shelley Peiken. Oh my God.
I haven't heard of that one.
Oh, you've got to get on that. It's so good. She wrote so many, like, if you're a woman and you're a songwriter, like, Shelley feels you. And she has written for some really amazing, huge artists. She wrote a bunch of songs for Christina Aguilera, Meredith Brooks. Like, she's dope. So yeah, I would definitely recommend reading books by other artists. Sarah Bareilles' book is really good also.
She has a book. I didn't even know that. I'm not a big book reader. Like, I'm a very big podcast reader and podcast listener, and, like audiobooks, just because I try to multitask. Yes.
It's called Sounds Like Me.
Okay. Love Sarah Bareilles. Okay.
And yeah, also documentaries. I'm going to sound like such a nerd, but I love Lady Gaga's documentary that she just put up on Netflix. Yeah, I love it.
Oh, I haven't seen it yet.
I love her. Lady Gaga, if you're listening, let's be best friends. And also Demi Lovato's YouTube documentary is really good as well.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Good too. I've never seen. I love music documentaries.
Oh yeah, they're great. They're very real stories, nothing glamorous about it. They show when they're in pain, when they're angry, they talk about the ugly parts of themselves, which I think is really important as an artist or as a human being to acknowledge and not be able to express that. Like, yeah, you need to accept all parts of yourself. So I really appreciate that they did that.
Awesome. Well, those are some great suggestions. I knew you'd be a good source of that.
Thank you.
So again, can you recap what's your website and what are your social media handles so everybody can know how to find you and connect?
Sure. The website is womencrushmusic.com. That's women with an E-N at the end. And then all of the social media handles are at WomenCrushMusic.
Thank goodness you got those.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much, Ashley. It's been really amazing to hear about your journey and how you just kind of learned that you love helping other artists. And I definitely resonate with that journey and, doing the whole music thing and then just realizing you love to help elevate other artists. And that's what you're doing. So kudos to you. And thanks again for spending some time with me today. And I know our listeners are going to learn a ton, and I hope they all go out and get involved with WomenCrush. Now go out and make great music, connect with your fans, and grow your business. Female Entrepreneur Musician has been brought to you by FEMusician.com and FemaleMusicianAcademy.com. With editing by Jen Eads of 317 Sound Design and music by Stella Ronson.